Today on Trill, we do the sickest mod. I'm gonna do this entire build. I'm so excited. So if you follow me on Instagram, you already know what it is. And for those of you that don't, well, you should. We eliminate this big, bulky MF'er. That's right. So we are doing a Chase Bays brake booster eliminator. So since I'm doing all this work, getting the motor swap done, cutting out the wheel wells and all that stuff, I thought since my brake master cylinder was leaking, and that's why I had to paint my brake booster, I should replace my brake master cylinder. But if I'm going to replace that, why not spend a little bit extra money and just go all out and eliminate the brake booster completely, have a sick little black brake master cylinder, and have black braided brake lines instead of these metal ugly hard lines. So that's what I did, and these parts, they came in today and oh my god, they look so pretty. They are the prettiest parts I've ever seen. So let's have a quick little 30-second montage and look at how pretty they are, and then we'll get to installing. Okay, so seeing how these parts ship separately, you do have to put them together. All you have to do is remove this nut, set it on there, and then tighten the nut back down. Don't tighten the nut all the way because it'll make your life a lot easier later on. Alright, so now it's time to attach the hard line. This can be difficult if you tighten the nut down, which is why I told you not to, because you basically just want to line everything up and lightly tighten it. Do not tighten one side all the way down until both are semi-tightened. So now that they're both semi on there, now we can tighten everything down to spec. Alright, so this next step is shortening the part that connects to the brake pedal to where it's the same length as the original one. And this part definitely gave me the most trouble because it has like 3 different adjustable pieces to get it to the right length, and I just could not get it short enough using all 3 pieces. So what I ended up doing is taking the middle piece out and taking the part that looks like a tie rod end and just attaching that straight to the first piece of metal pipe like you see right here. So by removing this middle piece, I was able to get it to the same size as you see right there. So now it's time to pop the hood and get rid of this garbage looking brake booster and its ugly hard lines. Now when you feed it in, be aware of where that piece that's going to attach to the brake pedal is going to go, because that's going to be knocking around on stuff inside, and you want to make sure that it's in the right position to be bolted into the brake pedal. And this is also a lot easier if you put all 4 bolts in it at first and then feed it in. The only reason why I couldn't do that is because my firewall kept getting in the way, and so I had to kind of like weasel each bolt in at a time. But once you have all 4 bolts in and it's in there, it's time to hop into the inside of the car and just start tightening them down. Now for this part, you want to tighten it down, but not fully again. You want to tighten it down to where all 4 bolts are in place, but you want to leave them loose because it's going to make your job a lot easier on the outside. So once those 4 bolts are semi-tight, you can go ahead and tighten the bolt that attaches to the brake pedal. Go ahead and tighten that one down all the way, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so with the brake line kit that I got, the shortest one has one end with no adapter on it and the other end with a, I think a 10 mil to a AN adapter fitting. So I want to take the end with no fitting and attach it to the driver's side of the T-splitter. Run that through the driver's side brake line hole and attach that to the existing brake cable with the AN adapter. So it should look something like this. Okay, so now you want to take your long cable with a 90-degree fitting and a 45-degree fitting, and you want to go ahead and attach the 90-degree fitting to the spot that says out on the brake booster eliminator, and then you just want to run that down. Next, you want to take the other cord, and this one's 90 degrees on both sides, so it doesn't really matter. So go ahead and take the 90-degree side and attach it to the passenger side of that T-splitter, and then run that cable next to the existing brake lines. So with those steps done, I went ahead and zip tied the 3 brake lines together just to kind of neaten it up a little bit. And now we're going to run the 2 long ones across the bottom cross member. Now please keep in mind, you want to keep these brake lines away from any moving parts. If you run into a part that's having trouble threading into one of your new parts, go ahead and just hit it up with some brake cleaner and it'll be good to go. Now that cable with like the 45-degree angle that we attached to the outlet, you want to go ahead and attach to your old brake line that goes to the rear. And you want to do that using the adapter that it came with. Me, I attached the adapter to the old line first and then screwed the new line on, just because I found it was a little bit easier that way. Last but not least, take the second long line that we ran and using the AN adapter, go ahead and attach it to the passenger front brake. So just like that, it is in, and honestly, coming from somebody who's never messed with brake lines and never messed with any of this stuff and has really no knowledge of cars except for what you guys have seen me do, this install was super easy. It was done with like 2 crescent wrenches, and that's about it. That's all I needed to do this, and the kit was super easy to follow. And I love companies like that make parts and they do it so well to where I need barely any tools and it just works. It just works out perfectly. Like, you could tell that they put so much thought into this kit that it just made my life super easy. So I would recommend it to anybody, whether you know about cars or not. It would be easier if your dashboard is out and there's no engine in the car, but I'm sure you could do it even with those 2 things. I've seen people do it with the dashboard in the car and with an engine in the car, and it still works out just fine. So would recommend it. Honestly, I'm so excited. And I know you're asking yourself right now, well, I eliminated the brake booster, so how well are the brakes going to work now? Well, that's going to be in a later episode. So this is part 1 of this install. Part 2 will be once the motor is running and in the car. We're going to take this baby out to some back roads and we're going to just test how good these brakes are. So that is it for part 1 of this brake booster eliminator install. So stay tuned for part 2 where we test it out. But for right now, this has been Spiff. I know today's episode was short, but honestly, these parts were so sick I had to give them their own little episode where I install it. Plus, I'm trying to get better at doing like instructional installs and stuff like that, and so I'm just kind of using this as like a learner's video. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Spiff. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button down below. Comment. I read all my comments and I try to respond to as many as possible. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, like my Facebook page, buy my merchandise. You could do all that stuff. But thank you so much for watching. I'm out. Alright, so it's 98 degrees. However, it's raining. So it looks like I get to take a little bit of a break before finishing this job.